All right, welcome to the show, y'all. We got way too much going on today. So in just a second, Trump is all but admitting that he wants to be a dictator. I'll break that down for you. He's saying some of the most disturbing things I've ever heard from a world leader, like, and I quote, "I have the right to do what I want. I have the right to do what I want. I'm the president of the United States." So we'll talk about that. Then we'll get to the creepy weirdo Charlie Kirk is going after Taylor Swift and saying things like she has to submit to her husband because Taylor just announced that she's engaged, she's getting married. So that gets bizarre. We'll dive into that. We also have Alex Jones with a surprising take. Apparently he thinks Donald Trump is dying. So catching up to what the liberals and the lefties have been saying there. And then later on, a patriotic veteran decides to burn the American flag in front of the White House, and he's arrested, as per Trump's new executive order, trying to crack down on flag burning, even though it's First Amendment protected speech. And then we'll also get to Trump's all-out war on the Fed has now escalated. And I'll explain how, if Trump succeeds in this, it could absolutely destroy the economy as we know it. So, a lot of super important stuff to get to today. And I actually have some breaking news for you. And this breaking news is about as bad as it could possibly get. So about 5 minutes before I came on air here, there was a mass shooting at a Catholic school and church in Minneapolis, Minnesota. And as I talk to you now, I've seen some numbers come out. One says about 20 people were shot. Another report says that at least 15 children, have been hospitalized. So it looks like this might be another horrific example of, a mass school shooting with a very high casualty number. And, my heart just breaks for all these families that are going to have to go through the worst pain anybody's ever known now, because I'm sure that a lot of these kids are not going to survive. And in the coming days, we'll get the information about, who carried it out, what kind of weapon they used, what their mental health history was, what their politics are, et cetera, et cetera. But, one thing's for sure, man, and this is probably the most depressing part of all of it, I don't think anything's going to change. I think that once we had Sandy Hook, and then functionally nothing happened as a result of that, I think the writing was on the wall. Basically, the United States threw our hands up and said, it is what it is. And to be fair, that's not what the population says. The actual people, the actual voters, the actual constituents say in overwhelming numbers, do something. 90% want a universal background check, for example. A majority want to ban high-capacity magazines. There's 1,000 different kinds of gun regulations and restrictions that the public supports, and they support in colossal numbers. But it's the politicians that block it. And to be clear, it's really the Republicans, because they're swimming in NRA money, and the Democrats, unfortunately, haven't been able to get anything serious through. Now, under Biden, there was some sort of gun reform that got through, but really, if we're being honest, it was very mild. Now, you could argue it had to be mild in order for them to get it through, whatever, but that just goes to show we don't solve problems anymore. And it's not like, the right makes this bullshit argument like, well, more guns equals more peace, so regulating the guns is not the answer, but we know that's factually wrong. You can look around the world and see, hey, which countries have, the lowest amount of gun violence? And you find out very quickly, Australia is one of them. And would you look at that? They have some of the strictest gun laws. And Japan is another one. And they have, I think, the strictest gun laws. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that fewer guns means more peace. But in this country, we don't even do like the simple, straightforward, basic, moderate reforms. We don't even have a national red flag law, for example, so that if a kid is caught on social media saying, I'm now going to shoot up the school, it becomes legal for the cops to go and take their guns that day. We don't even have that. Never mind universal background checks, never mind a ban on high-capacity magazines. I think we should have a licensing system, like how you need to pass a test and get a license in order to drive a vehicle, because the idea is a vehicle is like a weapon. Yeah, but then you could just go get an actual weapon and not have to go through as strict a process. And I think we should have something like that for guns, because, we are one of the one of the countries in the world that has, sky high rates of anxiety and depression and mental illness and a crisis of purpose. And unfortunately, we're dealing a lot with massive economic problems, and 60% of the country is living paycheck to paycheck. And having that mixed with, we have like over 300 million guns. I don't know, man. That seems like a bad mix. But look, I hope I'm wrong. But my guess is, what are you going to get? You're going to get the Republicans come out and do their, thoughts and prayers. Thoughts and prayers. We're going to do a lot of thoughts and we're going to do a lot of prayers for these kids. But actually, like, substantively address it? Nah, we're not going to do that. So this is where we are. This is the country we are now, bro. And it just goes to show you, and it's not just this issue, but this is just a great example of the fact that we don't solve problems anymore. If we see a problem, half the political spectrum goes into denial mode, right? That's what they do. Think about climate change. When it comes to climate change, the scientists their hair's on fire, and they're going, if we don't do something about this, we're cooked. Like, human civilization is cooked. And you have, the right just goes, disagree. Maybe climate change is a good thing. Maybe it's not happening, but if it is happening, it could be a good thing. Well, what am I supposed to do with that? What am I supposed to do with an anti-reality doomsday cult that is the right? And so here we go. Another colossal school shooting with super high number of casualties. Lord only knows the ages of these kids. But as this information comes out, it's going to get ugly and uglier and uglier and uglier. And just remember, there are answers. There are solutions. And none of them will be done. Not a single one. Because they actually don't give a fuck about you. And they actually don't give a fuck about these kids. And, we hit the tipping point a long time ago after Sandy Hook, when that happened and nothing really changed. And unfortunately, the country has become so pessimistic and so do nothing that it's just standard operating procedure. It's just business as usual. This will be in the news for about maybe 3 or 4 days. Then it'll be gone. And that'll be that. So very, very sad and horrific news to start the show with here. I do also have this too. We just got word that Denmark summoned the top U.S. diplomat because at least 3 people with connections to Trump were caught carrying out a covert influence operation in Greenland. So in other words, intelligence gathering, spying, covert operations. Denmark caught the U.S. doing this in Greenland. Now, why is that terrifying? It's terrifying because Trump has been openly saying, we want Greenland. We want to take Greenland. We want to own Greenland. It should be ours. And so, looks like some wheels are in motion to actually try to make that the case, right? Get some dirt on Lord knows who to try to coerce them into letting the U.S. have a bigger stake in Greenland or just take Greenland. So that's disturbing. Yet another way in which we're ruining our relationship with our allies. Same thing is happening with Mexico. We're drawing up plans to bomb Mexico as the government of Mexico is like, no. They're one of our top trading partners. I think they may be our top trading partner. They're one of our top allies. How you piss off Mexico and Canada? Canada's like the nicest country in the world, and we managed to piss them the fuck off. It's incredible. But that's a big deal that, we were caught doing this covert operation in Greenland, and now Denmark is pissed off. So add that to another country on the long list of countries that's furious with us and that will be looking for revenge and retribution, because they will, and they'll get it. Whether that's snuggling up to China, whether that's icing the U.S. out and working around the United States. Oh, it's coming. You bet your ass cheeks it's coming. And then I should give you this. We actually have 2 pieces of good news that I want to give you. So one of them is prosecutors failed to secure an indictment against that dude who threw a sandwich at Trump's Gestapo thugs. So you all know that, in D.C. right now, there's basically a federal invasion, an occupation led by Trump. And you had that video that went viral the other day of somebody, I believe he actually worked for the DOJ. Correct me if I'm wrong on that, guys. Maybe that was a different case, but I think he worked for the DOJ. You had one of these like Trump Gestapo thugs trying to arrest him or trying to stop him or something. And the guy was holding a sandwich. He threw the sandwich at the officer and then ran away. And so eventually they caught him and they were going to charge him with felony assault. And apparently they took one look at him and they were like, we're not even giving you an indictment, dog. We're not even giving you an indictment. So that's Washington, D.C., one of the most liberal places in the country, going, fuck yourself. This is a massive fuck you to Trump. That's what this is. This is a massive fuck you to the fascist regime that's trying to do a hostile takeover of D.C. So they looked at this guy who threw a sandwich at an officer and said, really? Felony assault? Really? They didn't even get an indictment. And for those of you who don't know, there's an old saying that you can indict a ham sandwich. A good prosecutor can indict a ham sandwich. But the federal prosecutors couldn't even indict this guy. Why? Because they overreached, and people in D.C. don't want the federal government there like they are. So that's really funny stuff that they couldn't get it. Now, maybe they'll get him on a misdemeanor or some shit. Who knows? But this was a massive rebuke of Trump and the fascist takeover of D.C., and I absolutely love it. And then I also had this for some breaking news here. This actually came out last night. But there's a Democrat by the name of Caitlin Dray, and she flipped the Iowa's first district, I guess. Yeah, I think Iowa SD1, a district Trump won by 11.5 points in 2024. And she defeated Republican Christopher Proch in a landslide special election. And because of that, she now broke the Iowa Republican supermajority. So that's a big deal. That's a big deal. So again, this was a Trump plus 11.5 district in 2024. So you want to know what she won by? It was double digits for her win. So a massive, massive sea change. And this may be a harbinger of things to come, because this isn't even like, as I pointed out, this is not even like Americans looking at Democrats going, you guys are doing wonderful. You guys are representing us. This is nothing but a massive middle finger, a giant fuck you to this regime and all of their horrible decisions. This is a rebuke of the inflation that they're bringing, a rebuke of the unemployment going up, a rebuke of the trade war, a rebuke of the insane foreign policy, randomly bombing Iran, threatening Venezuela, now threatening war with Mexico, arming and funding a genocide in Gaza. This is a rebuke of the insane immigration policy, ruining people's lives, sending them to concentration camps. So, again, Trump won it by 11.5 points, and now Caitlin Dray, the Democrat, won her race by double digits. So it went from a landslide in one direction to a landslide in the other direction. So that is incredible news. But now, I wanted to show you guys what went down with Trump now becoming more honest. He's becoming more honest when it comes to his intentions, right? Is that because he's getting more senile? He's older? He's running out of time? We can debate the reasons why he's becoming more honest. But he's becoming more honest, and now he's got this new line that he's added to his repertoire that he wants people to know. And you guys know all of Trump's tricks, right? One of Trump's tricks is when he wants to say something without saying it, he goes, many people are saying this. It's his way of like leaving himself wiggle room and plausible deniability, but he's actually saying the thing that he wants to say, right? So the other day he comes out and says the following. This should be a wake-up call to a lot of people who were maybe on the fence. If there was anybody left on the fence, this should be a cold glass of water right in your face. Watch this.
But then he goes on television and says, "Oh, Trump is a dictator. He's a dictator." And a lot of people have so the line is that I'm a dictator, but I stop crime. So a lot of people say, if that's the case, I'd rather have a dictator. But I'm not a dictator. I just know how to stop crime.
Many people are saying, well, then I'd rather have a dictator. This wasn't even the first time he said it. Here's the day before in the Oval Office. He says the same thing. Listen to this.
And they say, we don't need him. Freedom. He's a dictator. A lot of people are saying maybe we like a dictator.
This is very, very intentional. Very intentional. This is him saying, I want to be a dictator. And I will hide it under the guise of other people are saying they want me to be a dictator. Why? Because he goes, well, I stop crime. That's why. This dude pardoned rapists and cop assaulters, 1,200 January 6ers, hundreds of them violent criminals. They're literally doing pay-to-play to let every white-collar criminal off the hook. People running fucking pyramid schemes, people doing massive fraud schemes. We're talking the worst of the worst white-collar thugs robbing people ruining their lives. Trump has a pay-to-play operation to pardon them. And you're going to talk, you're on in the fucking Epstein files, and you're going to talk to us about where I'm tough on crime. I'm tough on crime. So that's why people want me to be a dictator. Wow. And it's so amazing that these are the same people who pretend like they're in favor of the Constitution and they love the Constitution and they're all about the Constitution. And then at the same time, their leader comes out and says this. Did you guys see this one? Watch this one.
I would have much more respect for Pritzker if he'd call me up and say, I have a problem. Can you help me fix it? I would be so happy to do it. I don't love, not that I don't have the right to do anything I want to do. I'm the president of the United States. If I think our country's in danger, and it is in danger in these cities, I can do it. No problem going in and solving, his difficulties. But it would be nice if they'd call and they'd say, would you do it?
So he said, quote, I have the right to do anything I want to do. I'm the president of the United States. That's what he said. So the Constitution-loving conservative Republicans hear that and they go, yeah. That is like the exact opposite of the Constitution. No, you don't have the right to do whatever you want to do. You made that up. What we have in this country are checks and balances. We have separation of powers. We have the Constitution, which restricts the federal government. And he just blows right through it. Goes full fascist authoritarian dictator, and his people fucking love it. This quote from Trump should have immediately reminded you of this one from Richard Nixon. And this was viewed as like a holy shit moment. This was viewed as like a, no way this dumbass just said that. This is the worst thing I've ever seen. Listen to what he said.
Well, when the president does it, that means that it is not illegal.
By definition.
Exactly.
That was viewed as like, that's the least American shit I've ever heard in my life. That is completely inexcusable. That is completely unforgivable. That's how that was viewed. Trump, again, quote, I have the right to do anything I want to do. I'm the president of the United States. That is not at all how it works. All right, we also have this. George Soros and his wonderful radical left son should be charged with RICO because of their support of violent protests and much more all throughout the United States of America. We're not going to allow these lunatics to rip apart America anymore, never giving it so much as a chance to breathe and be free. Soros and his group of psychopaths have caused great damage to our country. That includes his crazy West Coast friends. Be careful. We're watching you. Thank you for your attention to this matter. As Ed Krasenstein says here, Trump is now threatening to go after those who fund organizations who arrange protests, such as George Soros. If this isn't fascism, I don't know what is. He will go after anyone who dissents. It's what Stalin and Hitler did. So yeah, understand what the move is here. If they claim that, hey, this is like terrorist funding to undermine America, to stealth infiltrate America, so any sort of like organized protest is inauthentic behavior and it's fraudulent and it's, material support for terrorists, they find some sort of legal framework to say the funding of this or the organization of this is the illegal part. So in other words, well, the protesting itself is not illegal, but the way that you ended up protesting, the organization process, who was behind it, who was pulling the strings, etc., that part is illegal. It's a way to try to stealth ban protests. Do you understand that? And then it becomes, if you're any person doing any semblance of organization for a protest, they'll look at that and go, that's illegal. Well, guess what? That would criminally ban all protests because every protest involves organization. What are you going to fucking use telepathy to let people know where the protest is and, how many people are going to show up and what the purpose of the protest is? No, you need these things to be organized. Well, what if they go after all the organizers and they come up with some bullshit concoction about, well, it was funded by Soros and it was to undermine America and the funding came from Iran and that's illegal. Like, this is what they're going to do. This is what they're going to do. In fact, the illegal invasion that Trump is doing of all the blue cities, that's part and parcel of this strategy here. It's let me get people in blue cities and blue areas used to having the National Guard there, having the U.S. military there, and the whole point is intimidation. And if you're used to it during peacetime, imagine when the election rolls around, what he's going to do with this power. I mean, we've never been up Schitt's Creek this aggressively in modern American history. It's just, we never have. We never have. And then we got this, which should scare the shit out of you. Should Trump run again in 2028 for president? Among Republican voters, 53% say yes, 44% say no. So let me ask you a question. If Trump were to say, oh, the country's now at war, so just like Zelensky in Ukraine, I'm going to cancel the election because I have a right to stay in if a war's going on. If Trump does that, what percentage of the Republican base do you think would be on board with it? Well, if this poll is any indication, you're probably going to have at least half the Republican base go, right on. I got no problem with that whatsoever, bro. I got no problem with that whatsoever. Every day, he escalates more, see what he can get away with. And there's just not nearly enough pushback. And the fact of the matter is, the institutions are already completely captured, right? Like, he has surrounded himself with the biggest sycophants of all time. So these are the people who are going to keep Trump in check when he does something illegal, when he does something unconstitutional, when he overreaches. Listen to this. This was at the White House meeting yesterday with the press there. Watch this.
If you all haven't stopped by the Department of Labor, Mr. President, I invite you to see your big, beautiful face on a banner in front of the Department of Labor, because you are really the transformational president of the American worker, along with the American flag and President Roosevelt.
Working for this government, for you, is the greatest honor of my life. I tell it to everybody, and I really do feel that way, and I thank you.
You have breathed life back into the profession of law enforcement. Your respect for law enforcement is so incredible. It's making a difference.
This is just such a great opportunity, really, to recognize your leadership as a true champion for working people. Well, everyone knows there's no stronger advocate for hardworking American families than you.
Mr. President, first of all, thank you for the opportunity to work for you.
Our country has never been so secure thanks to you. You have brought us back from the edge.
And there's only one thing I wish for, that Noble Committee finally gets its act together and realizes that you are the single finest candidate since this Nobel Award was ever talked about to receive that reward.
It's pretty great to celebrate Labor Day with a builder who loves labor. The great Trump projects have come from the very men and women we're going into this weekend to celebrate.
Thank you for saving college football, by the way. We're all very grateful.
As I said, they have to treat this man like he's a toddler using the potty for the first time. Do you think anybody at that table, when Trump decides he's going to do his next illegal, unconstitutional thing, you think any of them are going to say, "Sir, this has gone too far. Let me break with you"? No. They've all been neutered. They've all been castrated. They've all killed whatever strands of humanity and principles and values and virtues, whatever strand of that remained internally for these people, they killed it off. They sold their soul to get the important position, the big title, the big profession. I get to go down as Secretary of Labor, says one of these douchebags. Or Secretary of Transportation, says Sean Duffy, the former MTV douchebag. Right? None of these people give a fuck. And he's already crossed 1,000. He opened up a concentration camp in the Everglades, bro. He opened up Alligator Auschwitz, dog. Like, once you cross that line where you're building concentration camps and you're sending people to gulags overseas in El Salvador, you think there's any brakes on the car? There's no brakes on the car. And so we are in a horrible, horrible position. We really are. And now he's floating, even like most dictators are smart enough to never utter the word dictator or hint that they are a dictator. There's this veneer of, no, this is serious, this is democratic, I have the support of the people, etc. But this fucking dipshit is out there going, many people are saying, some people are saying, beautiful, the other day he said this, these wonderful, beautiful African-American ladies are saying, well, maybe we'd like a dictator. Maybe we'd like a dictator. The whole crime bullshit, crime was down 30% in D.C. He's not even sending his Gestapo stormtroops into the places that are high crime areas. He's not even doing that. These motherfuckers are standing around the Krispy Kreme at Union Station. I'm not kidding. So from top to bottom, every part of this is fucking absurd. And we're being run. The thing is, it's authoritarian, it's fascist, it's scary. He wants to be a dictator, but it's also so fucking clownish. It's so incompetent. First of all, he's 7.5 minutes from having a massive heart attack, right? He paints his face orange every single morning. He looks like he's dying. His hands are so bruised, it looks like it's like molding or something. Looks like it's about to fall off, like he's got gangrene or some shit, right? He's surrounded by alcoholic rapists like Pete Hegseth and idiots like Howard Lutnick. And like, these are the ones running the country, running the world for that matter. These are the people. The fucking guy who was the host of The Apprentice is running the country and doing a speed run towards a fascist dictatorship. And we're all sitting here like fucking bumps on a log with our thumbs up our asses. Like, okay, I guess that's what's happening. Like, what the hell, bro? What the hell? So, very disturbing stuff. Very, very disturbing stuff. And, yeah, I wish I had something witty or insightful to end this with, but I don't. Just behold the pathetically sad downfall of America in real time. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.